What's going on, everybody? Welcome back, Face Off Sports Network. I'm your host, Anthony Servino. Follow me on X at The Real NFL Guru. Follow the show at the FF Face Off and at fffaceoff.com. We can be found at all the top social media and podcast platforms. Back with me on a Football Tuesday, Steve D'Angelo at Fantasy Savvy, Pete Nova at Supernova 38. Guys, what's going on? Waiver Wire, Tuesday night coming.
Yeah, what's up, boys? It's good to be here on a waiver wire show, my first of the year. I've been playing softball. My kids had baseball practice, but we had a rain out and everything going. So I'm here to join you guys. Excited to get into it. You know, waiver wires it's so important to constantly add to your team, cut that waste, constantly improve your team, add the talent, and stack those rosters up, create the depth. So let's get into it.
Yeah. I'm ready to roll. I'm trying a little bit of a different approach to waivers this year. I feel like this is probably, I don't know, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. I think this week is probably the biggest week we've had this year for waivers in terms of talent, and I just feel like we have a little bit of a more clear picture on most of the guys that are being recommended on the waiver wire. So yeah, in terms of what I'm trying different, I feel like I always have a tough time cutting bait on guys on my bench, but I'm trying to be a little more quicker to just cut bait and move on. So
yeah, I think early in the year too is when you want to kind of spend and make moves. Yeah, I understand that definitely happens sometimes that you cut guys, then like 3-4 weeks later they start popping again, but sometimes you can get them back too. So but yeah, I think you're constantly making moves. As far as this being the best week, I don't know. Maybe. I think there's been other weeks, but it depends on your league and what you're playing in.
Yeah.
So let's get, I think we, whoever wants to handle the questions, I know we have Albert in here. We have Zero Skills, and Zero Skills will be our leadoff hitter today. Pete, you want to do the honors?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Zero Skills said Superflex 2 quarterback max. I have Richardson as my QB2. Fields. I have Richardson as my QB2. Fields, Dalton, Jones, Stafford on the waiver wires. Third on waivers priority. He's asking if you should keep Richardson or swap him out. 2 options in case first one gets picked. So I guess he's talking about slotting in the priorities. I would love to know who his QB1 is. If Richardson is his QB2. But I mean, I think I would be comfortable at this point swapping Richardson out for Fields. It just really depends on who his QB1 is. So if he wants to let us know that, because in terms of like stability, right? Dalton and Stafford are more safer choices. But if you're QB1, okay, so he said Hurts is his QB1. So, I mean, you're going to have some volatility there. So I would say it's between Fields and Dalton, but let me think on that. But what do you guys think? I mean, Hurts is his QB1. Does he need to swing for the fences with Fields, or does he play it safe with Andy Dalton or Stafford?
I want to say it's a super flex league. So you need to start 2 quarterbacks, and you drafted Anthony Richardson like he was going to be a league winner like most of us did, and it's not working out. As far as his injury this week, he's up in the air. He could still play. I think he's dealing with oblique and a second strain. So they're saying strain. It's not a tear. So there's a good chance he plays this week. And I think Anthony Richardson playing, I don't know how great that is right now for the pass catchers in Indy. We saw guys like Pittman and Josh Downs go off. But when it comes to what you should do on your fantasy team, I think my big question is there a big drop-off from the ceiling of Anthony Richardson and Justin Fields? Because it looks like Justin Fields, I get that they lost this week, but I don't think his job is in danger. I don't think Russell Wilson's all of a sudden going to come and take this job because they didn't lose because of Justin Fields. Fields, he did not throw an interception. In fact, he only has 1 interception thrown this year, and he only lost 1 fumble this year, which did come last week. So only 2 turnovers. He looks like a vastly improved quarterback from his Chicago days. They are winning games. And, he threw for back-to-back games, 245 and 312 yards with a touchdown. I don't know if he's ever done that in his career. He had his best running day of the season, 10 for 55 and 2 touchdowns. So I think if this version of Justin Fields is what we're going to get, I don't think I would mind picking him up for Anthony Richardson. And that might sound crazy because we paid a high premium for Anthony Richardson. But Fields, I think if he was the unquestioned week 1 starter somewhere, I think he would have certainly been a top 12 quarterback. Am I off there?
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Richardson has struggled. He's going to get some tough matchups, but then we saw him get hurt again last week, and then we saw Flacco come in and do what Joe Flacco does. He just knows how to run a freaking offense, and they come away with the W in that game. So I mean, it's a little iffy. I mean, if Richardson keeps struggling like this, I know they're going to probably go back to him, but if he's struggling, it might be a pretty quick hook. You never know. So it could be Joe Flacco once again. If I was the coach, I'd give Richardson all the shots there, and Richardson certainly could be an absolute smash still for fantasy this year. He's had some tough matchups, but if you want to move to Fields, I mean, Fields, we've already seen him be an elite fantasy quarterback before. We run for 1,000 yards. He's way ahead of Russ Wilson now. Russ Wilson supposedly is going to gear up and practice a little bit more this week, but he's got the job. They're 3-1. He played, very well last week. The fumble was even on like another early snap from that center. I guess he got credited with the fumble on that. But yeah, man, I mean, if you want to move off Fields, I mean, Fields potentially could be your best fantasy quarterback, even over Hurts the rest of the way Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense is all dinged up and banged up as well. So I don't mind that move if you want to move off Richardson right now. He said two quarterback max. That means start, or he can only have two quarterback max on his roster. Max.
Wow. I would think it's probably max. It's probably a way to just keep hoarding out of the league. Which
because I was going to say if it's just two quarterback max starting, then obviously you'd want to drop somebody else and pick up Fields and keep those two quarterback. But if it's just two QB max, it's a tough decision to make. But Fields is probably going to win you games a little bit faster here than Richardson. And you got Joe Flacco waiting in the wings there.
I got to think if he's got all these quarterbacks on waivers, it probably is two quarterbacks roster max. Yeah. But so
good point.
Two things.
Unless it's a really small league, but
yeah, well, unless it's a small league. I think this becomes a question of, and I just want to dive into it a little bit more. Rest of season, Justin Fields or Anthony Richardson? I think it's a realistic question at this point, and I don't think it's something that we ever expected to be talking about. But Anthony Richardson, and we talked about the injury history with him. I mean, the thigh hamstring strain grade 2 in 2021, knee meniscus tear in 2021, head cranial concussion in 2021, another concussion in 2023, shoulder AC joint sprain last year. And not even to mention, he also came out of the game because they thought he had a concussion in another game last year. And now we deal with this where he gets hurt, first play back in, he gets hurt again. And durability is an issue. Like Joe Flacco, if I had to I think Steve's correct. Like if I'm the coach, look, you're rolling with Richardson if he's healthy. That's just the bottom line. But I would bet that Joe Flacco plays 4 or 5 games this year just because of Richardson's health. And when it comes to Justin Fields, I mean, health hasn't been that much of an issue for him. I mean, he had a rib fracture, some stuff in college, but it wasn't anything significant. 2022, he had an AC joint separation, a hip strain in 2023, and then a thumb dislocation. So like Fields has been able to stay relatively healthy, and he's taken some big hits too. And the only thing I'd say is Richardson has better weapons, but that seems to be to Fields' advantage because Fields scores 2 touchdowns at the goal line this week. Like Najee Harris isn't running extremely well. So I mean, I don't think it's that crazy to say Fields over Richardson.
Fields finished QB5 in 2022.
Yeah,
last year he missed a month, so he finished QB17. Yeah. But this year he's already up to QB6. So and he was the number 1 quarterback this week. And again, this guy's run for 1,000 yards. He's in a much better situation now with this Steelers organization.
And to put things in perspective, in high stakes FFPC, I remember Justin Fields wasn't even named a starter yet. And he was a top, 20 or 22 quarterback off the board. And he wasn't even a starter.
Yeah, he was
these are high stakes leagues.
Yeah, high stakes and even underdog drafts. He was the guy that was going over Russ pretty much all the time. Russ was just being left for dead. And the market was that was even before he got that calf injury. So people were just looking for that upside of Fields, with their rushing.
Yeah. So I think we kind of hammered this one, but I think it's a good discussion. And I really appreciate that
Yeah,
question.
great question.
Jermaine Briston says was offered Davante Adams for JSN, and I'm assuming Najee Harris and PPR. Wide receivers are Chase, AJ Brown, Neighbors, Johnson. I'm assuming Deontay, Drake London, Josh Downs, Wicks. RBs are Kamara, Mason, Monty, Bucky. So essentially, he's getting Adams and he's giving up Harrison and JSN. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. But he's a little light. Not light, I mean, his running backs. I mean, this is a pretty loaded team, actually. I'm trying to find ways to poke holes through it, but I think I don't know. What do you guys think about this deal?
You want me to go first, Ant?
Yeah, you jump in.
Yeah, I mean, do you really need to make this deal? I mean, your receivers are Chase, Brown, Neighbors, Deontay Johnson, London, Wicks. So, like Pete said, your team's pretty stacked, even at running back with Kamara, Mason, Monty, and Bucky. But I mean, CMC could come back. Bucky Irving, he's still got Rashad White to deal with. So maybe you just hang on to JSN and Harris. We still don't know what Adams is going to do. He may sit out a couple more games here, maybe 3 more games. So I think you just hold on to these 2 guys. We just don't, obviously if he ends up with the Chiefs or the Bills or the Jets or something like that, then, it's kind of lights out. But your team is already so stacked. Can you afford to lose a couple, can you, I don't know. I don't mind it if you want to do it, but with your team, you could afford to do it, but I would probably just stay put.
I get what Steve is saying. Where is this a deal you need to make? Because look at your wide receivers, like Chase, AJ Brown coming off the bye. He's probably coming back. Neighbors, Deontay Johnson, who's playing like a superstar right now. Drake London, Wicks. He looks like he's the next man up. He could be the number 2. And I talked about Wicks today in a waivers video. He's actually he was number 3 in pecking order in terms of snaps. Dubs is actually number 1 on the team in Green Bay. But when it comes to targets, Wicks looks like he could have possibly even jumped Reed. And he has a rapport. There was a reason why people were overdrafting Wicks, because if that injury happened, like anytime last year, Wicks stepped up. He has rapport. So we have a really nice team here. When it comes to JSN, he hasn't, he had that one pop week, but he gave us only 13.1 against Detroit on Monday night. But this is the second time he's had at least 12 targets in the game. So he's going to bring a high PPR floor. And this is an offense where Geno Smith, I believe I saw that he leads the NFL in passing yards. So there's plenty of targets to go around. There's plenty of offense to go around. I don't love moving off of Najee Harris and JSN, but I don't mind buying Davante Adams now because I do think there's a world. I did a reaction video on Davante, and I said that, hey, you have to be able to want to absorb his contract because this is the last year his contract is fully guaranteed. So essentially, you don't really need to pick him up the next 2 years. So this could be a 1-year deal and out. A team like the Panthers aren't going to pick him up. They're not winning anything. There's only 3 or 4 realistic teams that have the cap room and could potentially maneuver. I think Dallas is one, but I don't think they're realistic. They have the cap room. I think they have to allocate that to pay Micah Parsons and upgrade elsewhere. I think Kansas City, and I know some people don't think they would trade an in-division rival, but my narrative against that is it's not like the Raiders are winning anytime soon. And Nick Wright actually brought this up, and I never really thought of it this way, that you're moving a guy like Davante Adams and his current contract to the Chiefs, you're essentially draining their assets from them and their ability to get better moving forward maybe for a year or 2 if they have to move money around. So I could see that. The one that's really jumping out to me is the Commanders. I think the Commanders are a realistic landing spot. I think realistically they're a top 10 team in the NFL right now. And outside of Terry McLaurin, they have no wide receiver help. So I think if they could, if Davante and obviously the Jets, if he winds up on one of those 4 teams, I think he's worth buying now. Is basically what I'm trying to say. But I think the Commanders, that's the one that jumped off the paper today in terms of they have the money, they have the need, and they're an ascending team.
Yeah. The only to give my final thoughts on this would be, I just think running back wise, he's loaded at receiver with Chase, Brown, Neighbors. So I would be trying to take JSN and Harris and maybe maybe try. I mean, I would try to take Adams and maybe Bucky and go get a better running back, or tier up maybe with like, I mean, it looks like Jordan Mason's going to be holding that job down for another month, at least, right? So you got Kamara, Mason, but like maybe I just, you can only start so many receivers. I mean, and you're going to drive yourself nuts every week with even adding another guy, but like maybe help yourself out. Like Monty's been great, but maybe you can get an upgrade from Monty. What that ends up being, I don't necessarily know. But that would be my thought. But I get Anthony's point as well. I just, to add JSN and Harris, like,
he'd be trading
Adams. He'd be getting Adams, and he traded JSN and Harris. I just think there's a way to maybe be able to tier up, but I read it wrong. But I think there's might be a better way to tier up at running back because your receivers are just ridiculous. But okay, let's move on here. Jared Fortin said, "What's up, guys? Would you drop Juwan Jennings for Josh Downs? Also, Broncos defense versus the Raiders or Vikings versus the Jets?" Yeah, I would take. I went over it today, but I would take the Broncos over the Jets. Just from a standpoint of, and I have this chart up here, but from an EPA standpoint, the Broncos are second in the NFL from a defensive standpoint, which is expected points per play from an EPA standpoint, and the Raiders are like dead last. So it's a really good matchup, for the Broncos this week. I expect the Jets to get right. This Vikings defense is going to be on their ass. They're very similar with what kind of blitzes they run compared to Denver. Flores does a lot of similar looks, but it's a better offense in the Jets than what Denver's going up against with the Raiders, who are probably going to be without Adams again. So I would go with the Broncos. They're my number one priority this week. And then Jennings for Downs. I mean, that's actually closer than I think I would even like to say, because I love Josh Downs. But I would lean Downs just for the upside potentially. And Jennings just has a lot of mouths to feed around him, and Josh Downs has a legitimate chance to be wide receiver one on this team, in my opinion. So that would be why I would advocate for Downs. But I don't know how you guys feel. So Steve, why don't you chime in here?
Yeah, the Jennings one is tough because, Debo's back healthy, Kittle, and then Ayuk, and then, they're going to run the ball. So he's still kind of the fourth guy there. And then Downs, could potentially be the number one receiver there in Indy, even over Pittman and Alec Pierce, or maybe number two. So he's higher in the pecking order. So, yeah, I think, Jennings, I mean, he's earned himself some more playing time, but I think if you wanted to do that, I don't mind going for Downs. As far as defense, maybe this week the Broncos a little bit better, but I think long term I'd go Vikings. I mean, to me it's like an every week starter. So that's the defense I would want. You could pick, and it's still a good matchup. It's not like the Jets defense looked good last week against the Broncos. Oh, again, the Broncos defense is legit, but so is the Vikings. So it could be another struggling week. You got to travel to freaking London. Who the hell knows what the weather is going to be like again over there? So it's a shit show. The time clocks get all screwed up. So yeah, I would go Vikings, and that you could start them this week and the rest of the way.
Yeah, I would pick up Josh Downs over Jennings. Like Jennings, now that when we see Kittle and Debo come back, he was third in snaps, back down to his normal. He had 6 targets, but other weeks 5 and 4. He's back down to his normal role on this team, and obviously he's going to have value if one of these guys gets hurt again. But like they still have Brandon Ayuk, who only have 5 targets, and they just paid him. They got to get him going. That's why I kind of rule out the 49ers as a potential landing spot for Davante Adams. Like they don't need a wide receiver; they need help elsewhere. But like when it comes to Josh Downs, the way he was used was almost like the way he was used last year with Gardner Minshew, and I think Flacco, like he's obviously a more competent thrower of the football, even at 40-something years old, and Anthony Richardson right now, and where he plays in the slot, there's going to be targets for him. And even when Anthony Richardson comes back, I do think we eventually see him lean on Josh Downs in those short and intermediate routes just to get some rhythm and confidence.
Yeah. I mean, I could go into Josh Downs all day. I mean, I love Josh Downs. So I mean, if Flacco's in, Josh Downs is going to be money. I do agree with Anthony though. Richardson still may try to use him. I think Josh Downs is a huge glue guy for how this offense ends up moving the football. So I think he'll get involved either way, whichever quarterback is there, but it's just a matter of how much and how efficient. And then Jared said, is Adams a buy low? Anthony kind of talked about that. I'm sure Jared already heard that. That was a little bit of an older question. And then Jared said, was offered Fields and Hall for Etienne and Mahomes PPR. I mean, I'd rather Fields over Mahomes rest of the season. And I know it sounds crazy, but Mahomes just hasn't been that great for fantasy. And Fields just provides more upside. And then Hall over A-Chain is pretty easy for me as well. So I would take this deal, honestly.
Yeah, the Miami offense just looks like can't even run the ball. I mean, HN didn't even look good yesterday. There was like no blocking, but seemed like he was trying to bounce everything outside, wasn't taking stuff up the middle. Jalen Wright was coming a little bit. Tua, though, it sounds like he's going to come back possibly week 7, week 8. So everything leg up there. They were missing Terran Armstead last night as well. I still would rather have Breece Hall, and I agree with Pete. I think Fields, if anything, is going to go toe-to-toe with Mahomes the rest of the way for fantasy purposes. So, yeah, I don't mind taking that deal. Jared's always got these tough questions with these deals, man.
He must be in like 90 leagues because he's always wheeling and dealing with something.
Well, he's been trying to trade HN, and I think, the James Cook one, he asked me that like 2 weeks ago, and I said, it's very close. I don't mind if you want to do it. Could be sort of a wash, but I think right now, I think I might want James Cook, but it's still very close. It's still a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would take the Breece Hall and the Field side right now, and it's hard to part ways with Mahomes. He keeps losing weapon, and like Rashee Rice. If you look at his numbers, he was operating almost like as the number 1 receiver in the NFL. If you look at some of his statistics across the board, so that's a monster loss. You already lost Hollywood. Like Worthy's a rookie. Kelsey got going a little bit, but like they could probably just triple cover him at this point if they don't bring in wide receiver help. And Mahomes hasn't not given us more than 20.6 quarterback points. An HN, like they're saying Tua might come back by week 8. By that time, your fantasy team might be out of it. So you got to react and make a move now.
Well, reports are making it seem like Rashee Rice is not going to be out for the year. I mean, we haven't heard anything, but I mean, it is a little bit strange, like that they haven't announced. Like,
but it sounds like it's going to be at least like a month, maybe 2 months at least.
Yeah,
though, right? I mean,
it might be like a sprain, like maybe he sprained his MCL or
somebody
something.
said a broken bone. I mean, I don't know. It's weird how they haven't announced anything yet.
I just feel like if it was a tear, they would have probably told us and then maybe said they're figuring out how severe it is, maybe with more imaging, but it is strange that we haven't heard anything. I actually tried to buy low. I sent somebody like Josh Downs for Rashee Rice just to see if they would take it.
That's interesting. That's why I kind of want to do like a side video on it.
Yeah,
because let's say he does miss the year, and this is more of a dynasty thing, but like then he has that looming suspension. Yeah. Where is his dynasty value?
I don't know, because I mean, you got to expect that he's not going to be healthy to start the year if he tore his ACL. He may start the year off on the pup, right? So he misses 4 games, then they open up the practice window. Say that's week 4, week 5, and then he gets a couple games suspension. You're looking at he's missing pretty much half the year. But I mean, to be selfish, I have him in so many freaking best ball leagues that like it would be really amazing.
I know. I think we all got him in a lot of best ball leagues on this show.
I think we all do.
So redraft too. I was getting that great value, 6th, 7th round. I got him in an auction keeper for $5 too, or $6.
One of my FFPC teams, I have AJ Brown, Rice, and Puka.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Dude, I have a league where I have AJ.
The running backs are supposed to be the guys that get hurt, not the receivers.
I have Nico, AJ Brown, Marv, and Puka because I just made that deal to get Puka. But like, it's risky. But like, if I can get all of them healthy towards the end of the year, like, and that's a 12-man. I mean, geez. But all right, let's get to Alicia. She said Stroud or Burrow this week. I'll give you guys the schedule, but Houston goes up against Buffalo this week. So that would be Stroud's matchup, and then Joe Burrow goes up against Baltimore this week. The Baltimore Ravens are, for context for you guys, Ravens are giving up 15 most fantasy points to the quarterback position, but that might be a little bit deflated or inflated because that's keeping in mind of what they just did to Josh Allen, which is not taking anything away from them, but that definitely plummeted and helped them out a lot. And then the Buffalo Bills, let's see where they are. Buffalo Bills are 22, so they're much better at holding them at the position. So, what say you guys? I mean, is there a clear cut here? I mean, I know it's a little early to start talking about this, but I mean,
and what's the past history of Burrow against
That's exactly what I'm pulling up right now. Let's see. We have Burrow. He averages 21.8 fantasy points, depending on where you play in those matchups. Didn't really do anything much of last year in November in that loss, but really high floor. He hasn't really popped in these matchups since 2021, where he went for 43 and 32. I think that was one of the more special years for this offense, but more of just a high floor option. Is what Joe Burrow gives us. So basically what we got last week, around 20, I would say my early projection on him would be.
Okay. Steve, I kind of have my idea of what I want, but why don't you go first here?
I'm looking at the totals here. Ravens Bengals is a 50 job. And then Bills Texans is 47. So 2 high totals. The Texans game is at home in the dome. That both of these games. I think I want to lean Stroud here though. Bills defense kind of banged up. I don't know how they're going to deal with these 3 receivers. I'm expecting Tank Dell to come back this week. Maybe if Tank Dell's out, then I would lean Burrow. But if Dell's there, they got all their weapons. I think this really could be a nice shootout here. So I think I would lean Stroud.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Steve. I just want to add a little more context here, but divisional games tend to be tight. You have a Ravens team that's running the ball a lot, so there's going to be a lot of clock probably chewed as well. How much does that limit how much time Burrow gets with the football is what I worry about. And Steve's point,
if Henry's breaking those 60-yard runs, I think it's the ball back pretty quick.
Yeah, that's true. But
I do get points in these matchups.
Yeah,
50 total in this game.
Yeah, I don't think it's an easy call. I just lean Houston just because I just feel like, to Steve's point, like you have the Stephon Diggs revenge game, so I feel like they're gonna make it a point to throw the ball a lot. Is Joe Mixon healthy or not? Cam Akers hasn't really stepped up. If Mixon plays or not, that's going to be a factor. And then Houston's at home. They're both at home, but one's in a dome, one's not. I just lean Houston because I don't know, those AFC North division games, man, are usually like lower scoring than people expect.
They know each other. They know each other pretty well.
Yeah. That's kind of my vibe. And I don't know if this Buffalo team has even played. Have they played Houston Stroud yet?
Not with Stroud.
No, with Stroud. They played. Remember, they lost that playoff game against Watson. I think that was Josh Allen's second year.
No.
But
Buffalo's defense, their secondary, obviously the first 3 games they were in control. They were able to kind of just go after these quarterbacks, shut down Murray, Tua, Trevor Lawrence, and then we see Lamar Jackson do what Lamar Jackson does and as a monster game, and that wasn't even close. My thing with Stroud, because everybody knows, you listen to the show, I don't think he's the greatest fantasy quarterback. I think in this matchup in particular against Buffalo, he needs the ground game, whether that's Mixon or Cam Akers. He really benefits from the play action, and he really benefits, in the Bobby Slowick offense coming from the Shanahan tree. They need to run the football really to get their quarterbacks going. But I think you guys are right. There's just so much firepower. And as good as Buffalo's secondary has played, I don't think they've played a trio. And even if Dell doesn't come back, a duo like Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins, because Nico Collins seems uncoverable right now. So I would probably lean CJ Stroud, but I could see both Stroud and Burrow having similar games.
Yeah. The way to beat Buffalo is kind of on the ground.
Yeah.
But again, they're pretty banged up. Let's roll Stroud here. It is very close.
All right, let's move on to Jody. We're backed up on some questions, so we'll try to get some of these through these a little faster here. Jody said, "Hey guys, thank you for your insight. Not to beat the Fields issue, but I have Mayfield and Darnold. Should I drop Darnold for Fields or sit tight?" Man, this is
Well,
actually
I would rather have Fields than Mayfield and Darnold. I think for me anyway.
I
For
think
fantasy purposes, yeah, I think I like
He
Fields the
has
best.
Mayfield.
The only
I
problem with Fields is, I guess there's an outside risk that Russ could come in, but it seems
Yeah.
very unlikely at this point.
I don't know. I think I lean Mayfield and Fields. I think painfully I would drop Darnold in this situation only because Fields provides the upside, and Mayfield I just trust more than Darnold, and I still I think this Vikings team is awesome, but Mayfield just has more weapons, kind of. I don't know. I just
not when Hawkinson comes back. I mean, even right now with freaking Addison and Jefferson, and you got Naylor, who's pretty good.
It's pretty close. Yeah,
and Aaron Jones, and you got O'Connell calling the play. I mean, it's just,
yeah. I guess I'd need to look at the schedules. Maybe that's probably the most important. Like, who has the best playoff schedule, and that would be maybe who I would drop, keep, and then pick up Fields for. Or maybe you just don't pick up Fields. I mean, I don't know.
I don't.
It's pretty close.
The best short-term schedule is actually Sam Darnold coming out of their Week 6 bye. From Week 7 to 10, they get Detroit, Rams, Indy, Jacksonville, and they're all like bottom 8, bottom 10 against fantasy quarterbacks. Baker is a little bit of a tougher road, but it seems like Baker with Liam Cohen might be playing even better football this year than he played last year with Dave Canales. The fact that we're even having a conversation about Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold being top fantasy quarterbacks, that's just I think that's a testament to 2024, but that's where we are. I would call the weapons almost a push. Like I guess I might lean Sam Darnold. Because he's a little bit more mobile. I would say I would take his mobility and ability to run over Baker's.
Really?
And I think
feel
that's
I feel like Baker's more mobile. Yeah. Really? Because Baker's got 2 rushing touchdowns. One they took out on Dallas. We're splitting hairs.
I just remember Darnold when he was at Carolina. He had a couple really nice rushing days that stick out in my mind.
Yeah,
he was also probably running for his life, but yeah, I don't know. I might just hold on to Baker and Darnold because they are on better offenses when it's all said and done.
I would say try to cut somebody else and pick up Fields if you can, because you could play. I mean, Fields again. This guy finished already as a top 5 fantasy quarterback or top 6, number 1 this week, and the rushing upside is just too hard to pass up. That's fantasy gold. So, that's just huge.
Minnesota, for what it's worth, in the fantasy football championship, they play Green Bay. Steelers play Kansas City. Kansas City may not be playing for much at that point. They may already have things locked up. Maybe the Steelers are playing for a playoff spot. Minnesota, Green Bay, they could be playing for the division, so that you can expect to be higher scoring. The Buccaneers play Carolina, which could be this is a team that just left Baker to die. So that's a good matchup. All 3 have good matchups. I'm trying to look as quickly as I can. Week 16, Bucks play Dallas. Steelers play Baltimore. That could be a tough matchup.
Yeah. Baltimore Chiefs is not a great combo for Fields.
Yeah, that
especially
might not
if the Chiefs
be
are playing for something.
Yeah, I think I might hang on to what I have at this point. But again, it's an embarrassment of riches.
But you got to get there too. So
All right, so I'll bring up Andy Dalton.
I don't know. Dalton. What? I don't know. He's last right.
Our pizza bet died because both of our quarterbacks died in the first quarter.
Yeah, but was there an injury designation on that bet?
Yes.
Oh, there was. Okay, I didn't know.
I mean, my guy played 2 plays. Pete's guy played 6 plays.
Yeah.
Your guy kind of got benched a little bit, though. I think he got
benched. Did you see the faces he was making? He was like, fucking. I saw a video. Somebody said he's on fucking drugs or something. Who the fuck knows? He's,
All right.
But I mean, he did say we'll go back to Willie Levis if he's healthy. So that
Hey, they won.
Mason Rudolph supposedly texted some girl in the crowd. Did you see
I
that?
know. I
I saw that video.
Oh my god, it's just crazy.
All right, we'll get to last rights, and then just because we're backed up on questions, guys, if you're still here, resend in your questions so that we know, so that we can answer. I don't want to answer pull-up questions from like 20, 30 minutes ago, but I will do last rights because I have it pulled up here, and he's a good friend of the show. It says, hey, fellas, is it worth dropping Mostert and picking up Hunt, Bucky Irving, or Chase Brown at this point? I mean, those are all three really good options. I definitely think I would drop Mostert just because of the state of this Dolphins team. It's really just a matter of what you're looking for. I mean, Kareem Hunt, I mean, maybe I was just wrong about this guy. Carson Steele fumbles in 30 opportunities. He's fumbled twice already. Kareem Hunt looked really solid. Not the fastest, but was still pretty effective. And I mean, I don't know. It depends. If you're going for upside, I don't think it's Hunt here. I think it's Bucky or Chase Brown. I think I still lean Bucky Irving here just because it's a really good offense, and I think he has a chance to be the number one. I don't think Chase Brown can do enough to solely become the number one. I think Bucky Irving has a better chance of getting like more of a 60-40 split than Chase Brown because Zach Moss is really the guy that they like to run the ball with in between the 20s. So, yeah, I think I go Bucky Irving here. I would be comfortable dropping Mostert for Bucky, given the state of this offense right now.
Yeah, it's tough. You got some good backs there. Hunt, I don't know if he's going to hold up. I really don't know. And then you got Pacheco possibly come back the end of this season. So I don't know. I mean, CEH is going to come back. Bucky, yeah, definitely could take the job. I think I want to go with Chase Brown. He's looked great the last 2 weeks. Yeah. He's starting to really eat into Zach Moss as he's getting goal line targets. Goal line carries. So I think that's the guy I want out of all those backs. But it's close between Bucky, but I think I slightly prefer Chase there.
I don't. This is a tough question because you can make a case for Chase Brown, but Moss is playing really well. Like I'm not going to discount what Moss, and I'm not even a Moss guy, but you can't discount what he's been able to do. I just think he's just going to have a little bit more competition. Bucky Irving, I've been on the Bucky Irving train. He finally got into the end zone. He's still playing more efficient football than Rachaad White. He's really cutting into Rachaad White's snap share. What did Rachaad even do last week? 10 for 49. It was actually one of Rachaad White's better football games.
Yeah, they both
when it comes to efficiency. 2 for 35 as a receiver, 10 for 49 on the ground. But I just don't know if that's sustainable considering what we've seen out of Rachaad. And then Kareem Hunt, he played one more snap than P. Ryan. Like Carson Steele's, he's pretty much dead on the water right now, in my opinion. If you look, like he was barely used, barely on the field. But yeah. Hunt played one more snap than Samaje P. Ryan. Dominated touches, 14 for 69, 2 of 3 targets for 16. But P. Ryan had the goal line carry, but not much else. So I think this might be Hunt's job to lose in Kansas City. But I would probably still lean Bucky Irving just because right now that offense looks more competent. And it's crazy to fade to say like, hey, the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield play more competent football and offensively than Kansas City. But Kansas City's winning with defense. And Patrick Mahomes doing just enough to win a game.
And honestly, Mostert could still be the best back at all those guys too. I mean, there's a chance where that happens. But he's already banged up, and then Etienne's getting all this work. But I mean, that's towards the end, it could happen too. So it's a tough choice.
Hey, Mostert could be a sneaky buy low, though. I don't know what it is. A-Chain did put some weight on. I'm not – look, it'd be hard for anybody to have be successful. But A-Chain just doesn't – the problem with A-Chain is he just doesn't seem like a good running back. He's just an explosive athlete. I just think he's an explosive athlete. But when you watch it, like he's going for a home run on every play.
Yeah, I think he's doing a little bit. I think he's that.
But how many more stacked boxes is Devin Achane facing without Tua?
That's why I said, I don't know how many guys would be able to do well. But my thing is, if Raheem Mostert was in there, I think he'd be more successful. Now, given he's a bigger body, so that might help. He's probably able to bounce off more players. But Either way, I mean, Mostert could be a really nice steal too. People have kind of forgotten about him. Like, not to say he's a buy low candidate, but
Yeah,
he
people are
could be
thinking
worth.
about people are thinking about
Yeah,
cutting him now. So I'm getting
yeah.
those questions too. So you could get him pretty cheap right now and take a shot
Yeah.
if you need a running back. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're like a 3-0 or I'm a 4-0 team or a 3-1 and you don't need to use Mostert, like he could be a nice guy to stash because I mean we saw what he did last year when he was healthy. And I don't think this job is just A-Chains. Like they've used Jalen Wright a good amount, and that'll go back to Mostert when he's healthy. So
Well, A-Chain
um,
gets that passing work, which is
he
huge.
does. He does. Yeah. No, he definitely does. All right, moving on here. Let me see. All right, let's go back to actually let's go to Zach and then we'll get to zero skills because we already answered you before zero and Zach's been
I
waiting.
think the Brewers just robbed a home run from the Mets there.
I saw that. Zach said, should I pick up Jordan Addison or Josh Downs on my waivers for now? I think this is pretty easy. It's Jordan Addison, at least for me. And I love Josh Downs, but better quarterback. Darnold's just is really good with the football in terms of just getting these guys the ball in space and just getting it to his playmakers. So it's Jordan Addison for me. He looked great this weekend.
Yeah, me too. Jordan Addison, definitely.
Yeah, I don't think it's close. They use him as a runner. They use him as a receiver. Like he was somebody I was like, I wasn't trusting Justin Jefferson with Darnold, and so I was on. And I love Jordan Addison. I had him as my number one ranked rookie receiver last year. But like, I don't really trust the situation. He was one of the best values in fantasy, and I wish I didn't discount Darnold as much as I did because like. He's a really nice receiver. He's never going to see top coverage with Justin Jefferson. And, the fact that you can get him on waivers, he's going to pay dividends moving forward. Again, we went over that stretch of matchups, especially week 7 to week 10. That offense throwing the football can go on a tear.
Hey, I completely faded Jordan Addison this year, so I'm right there with you. I didn't want anything to do with it. Look, I mean, I think like most people, I just didn't expect this offense.
I faded the offense. I didn't fade Addison. I faded the quarterback like I did with fucking Malik Neighbors and that another one that made me look like an asshole.
I didn't fade Aaron Jones though, and I am trying to get him in a lot of leagues that I don't have him because that schedule is really favorable for him, man, and he just looks good. Javier says, what trades would you do to upgrade my team? RBJT, Mason, Pollard, B-Rob, Swift, Braylon Allen, St. Brown, Cup, Pittman, Marvin Harrison Jr., Reed. Maybe if we knew what your quarterbacks and tight ends were, we could help you out a little bit. These questions are kind of tough to say what you would do. I mean, running back wise, you're great. B-Rob's excelling, doing far better based on his draft position. Mason's a free lottery ticket. JT's hurt. Wide receiver wise, you could probably maybe do better, but Reed is going to step up into a bigger role. And Marvin Harrison and St. Brown. I mean, you're pretty much starting.
Trade DeAndre Swift. Try to get a receiver after that big game. That's what I would tell you.
Yeah, I mean that's not bad advice at all. Maybe try to trade Swift
because you got Cup. You don't really know when he's going to come back. Pittman had one good game, and then Reed's still going to be a little volatile. I mean he looks great, but you got those other guys. Maybe Watson comes back another week or two. So yeah, I would try to trade Swift right
now. Could you package Swift and Pittman? Coming off big games, and maybe that jogs the memory of recency bias. Hey, these guys are good players. They're going to start breaking out now, and maybe you can parlay their volatility into a nice piece.
Yeah, the Bears are not going to throw. What do you have? 7 catches this week, Swift?
Yeah,
that's not. I mean, with those receivers, there's no way that could happen every single week. But maybe that's their best course of action. I don't know, but probably not. So.
Yeah. All right. So zero skills coming back in. He said PPR. I have to cover Goddard's bye week. Who do I drop? Bucky Irving, Michael Wilson. Definitely not Jalen Waddle. Maybe that was a mistake to put him in this question. But Braylon Allen or Rashee Rice. PPR. Okay, so then maybe it's just another question as to maybe who to start after that. But I mean, I think it's Michael Wilson for sure here. I know the easy answer might be to be Rashee Rice, but like we talked about, there is optimism that he maybe didn't tear his ACL. So if you have an IR spot, I know waivers are going through tonight, so it's kind of a tough spot. But if you drop Michael Wilson and you're really that passionate about him, I am sure you could go pick him up later this week. He didn't have a great game this week. I don't think anybody's rushing to the waiver wire to go pick him back up. And we like Michael Wilson on the show. So It's not a knock on him at all, but I think you could probably drop Wilson and then wait on the Rice news. And if you have an IR slot, probably slot Rice to the IR if he's rumored to not, if he ends up not tearing the ACL, and then pick Wilson back up later in the week.
Yeah,
I don't
Wilson
know.
be the guy. The Wilson would be the guy I cut to.
Yeah, I
mean,
agree.
maybe it's Rice, but we got to wait and see what the diagnosis is first.
Yeah.
And there's a rough stretch of matchups from week 7 to 10, and then coming out of their bye week 12 with Seattle. They're all top 10 teams against fantasy wide receivers. So yes, Wilson has saw 9 and 7 targets the past 2 games, but Arizona's throwing game it's struggling a little bit, and it does not get easier.
Yeah. And then for the PPR question, he said Zach, Josh Downs, or Jordan Addison. Assuming Zach Moss, Josh Downs, Jordan Addison, let's just assume there. If Downs plays, it's maybe a little bit more of a if Flacco plays, it's maybe more of a conversation, but I think I still would roll with Jordan Addison. Between Zach Moss or Addison, though, that I'm not completely sure. I don't know what the matchups are. So if
Minnesota gets the Jets.
Oh, okay. Well,
and then Moss gets Baltimore, number 2 against running backs.
Okay, and the Colts, and the Colts get who do they get? Fuck, I thought I just saw this.
Jaguars.
Ooh,
yeah. I mean, if Flacco starts, I would go with Josh Downs.
If Flacco starts, if not, I think Addison might be the play, because if Sauce Gardner, if we expect him to lock up or try to lock up Jefferson, then there could be some work for Jordan Addison.
I'm with you there. Steve, you agree?
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Okay. All right, let's see what else. Hoff said, be sure to like and subscribe. Yeah, we got 22 people currently live on YouTube still watching. Facebook, we got 5. Twitter, we got a bunch as well. Some people on Twitch. So appreciate you guys. Like the show if you can. It helps us out immensely. Let's go to Debbie, who is here, friend of the show. She said, hey guys, PPR flex, have Hurts on a bye. Caleb Williams is my backup, but not happy starting him. Available is WW Gino.
Waiver wire.
Okay. I thought it was short for a quarterback. I'm like, who the fuck has those initials?
Wes Walker is gonna
Wes Welker. There you go. Gino, Mayfield, Dalton, or Stafford. Who do you like this week? Thanks in advance. I mean, I'd have to look at the matchups, but I thought Caleb had a pretty decent matchup. I could be wrong.
They're playing the Panthers. 41 total.
He looked pretty good last week.
He's still not lighting it up though. I mean, the yardage is low. There's not a lot of touchdowns.
Yeah.
Gino, I mean, he gets the Giants. So I mean, the Giants defense isn't bad, but
they're stingy.
You got to deal with Metcalf. Look how good Kenneth Walker looked last night. And you got
it could be Dalton though. Chicago's defense is pretty solid. I actually don't think Dalton.
No, I'm not going with
Stafford, right?
Dalton.
You can't start Stafford.
I would go with Gino.
I think I would go with Gino as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Gino against the Giants, he's lighting it up, throwing, over 300 yards, 2 out of the past 3 games, 289 in week 2 against Miami. On paper, they're a really good secondary.
Tampa's got the Falcons.
I like Caleb, but I thought, because Caleb had a shot to build on 27 fantasy points last week in a good matchup against the Rams, and it was kind of a dud. It was and I think this coming game against Carolina, it could be another DeAndre Swift-Roshan game.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might have to throw a lot because their defense will probably dominate. She's also got Baker in the mix too against the Falcons, 43 total this Thursday night.
If Baker's in the mix, then I think I'd roll with Baker. I don't care. The matchup might not be as good, but he's been so hot. I think I actually go Baker just because of how good he's played. I think there's a better running back.
I still like Gino a little bit.
I think they're both good starts. But I just think Mayfield provides a little bit more with the legs. He scored a touchdown last week.
Gino's running too this year, man.
He is.
Yeah, he's running.
Yeah. So I think either way, Mayfield or Gino, Debbie, I'm sure you're going to be with us the rest of the week. When we get closer towards Sunday, ask
Yeah.
us again. I'm sure you will, because you've been you've reached out to us a good bit. So ask us again, and we'll give you a more clear answer once we get close to game time. I do want to bring one thing up before we get to the next question. DK Metcalf, right? I mean, we talked about him a lot in the offseason. I didn't get a lot of shares of him, and I kept complaining because I liked him. But I mean, he's been good, man. Like 12 targets, 104, 7 catches. JSN's getting a lot of targets too. They're just not always connecting. But I mean, we're getting what we wanted from Metcalf. Is Metcalf is DK Metcalf, and let's dig a little deep into this. Is DK Metcalf a top 15 wide receiver going forward? Are we ready to say that? Is that too, I mean, maybe it's overzealous, but is that too crazy to say at this point?
No, not at all. I mean, DK Metcalf is a unique player. I mean, he's 6'4", he's 220, 225. He's got elite speed, elite size, and this offense, he's kind of taking that Adunze role. He's shown to be the alpha. Now, JSN's getting a lot of targets, but he's not really putting up the yards and the touchdowns that DK is. And then Lockett's just kind of that third guy. So, I mean, yeah, DK Metcalf, for sure, man. I mean, this guy is a freak. He had that one huge year, kind of some frustrating years in fantasy, but I think he could come back this year in a strong way. So, top 15, yeah, definitely, 100%.
Anthony?
Yeah, I was always kind of not like out on DK because I always felt like he was fool's gold. We were overdrafting him, chasing that one big year. And maybe the issue was not so much DK Metcalf, but maybe the system.
Yeah.
Because in this, grub system, DK Metcalf, he's on pace to maybe do, have maybe the best season of his career. Maybe he'll outdo that one season everybody's chasing. Because right now, even the game he did not, like week 3 against Miami, he only saw 6 targets, took 4 for 104 and a touchdown. And then the 2 games, where he's getting volume. He's got over 100 yards receiving in 3 straight games. With some of the catches he made on Monday Night Football. I'm ready to cave and say DK Metcalf's a real deal. And I think it was just he was more of a victim to Shane Waldron.
Well, a lot of, DJ Moore is seeing that right now. I saw a passing, a route chart between JSN and then last year to this year, and then DJ Moore last year to this year. And I mean, it's pretty ugly. 14 targets, 12 targets. Like Anthony said, he's had 100 yards in 3 out of the 4 games. And the one game that he didn't have 100 yards in, he went up against Pat Surtain and the Denver Broncos, who, are doing that to everybody.
And he had 2 touchdowns, 2 out of the last 3. Got tackled at the 1 last night.
Yeah. And I think he's flying under the radar. I mean, granted, yes, he had a primetime game last night, so maybe people are more keen on him, but this is wide receiver 7 on the year. And I feel like it's not being talked about enough how well this guy looks. Looking at his schedule down the stretch, he has Arizona. He's got a tough matchup with the Jets. Then he gets Arizona again. So week 12, Arizona, Jets week 13, Arizona in week 14. So he gets Arizona twice. And then he gets Green Bay in the first round of the playoffs, which, Jair Alexander just doesn't look like the same player. I'm not saying DK is going to do what Justin Jefferson was able to do, but that's going to probably be high scoring. He gets Minnesota, which have been, receivers have been able to produce okay against them. And then he gets Chicago. Like, it's not the best schedule, but it's also not bad. I think it's safe to say DK will be, top 15 going forward, and maybe finish the year. So I'm happy to see it because I've always been a fan of him. I just think the system has kind of held him back. But all right, let's move on here. Dylan Matos. Yep, I pulled that. 10 team PPR. Yeah, we appreciate the super chat from Dylan. He said 10 team PPR, Josh Allen, Etienne, Kyron Williams, Nico Collins, London Pickens, Goddard, benches Amari Cooper, Braylon Allen, Bucky Irving, Najee Harris, Xavier Worthy. Should I be worried about ETN / team rating? So I guess he's wondering, does he, is his team solid? He'd like to know how we would rate his team. And then Travis Etienne, should he be worried? What are your thoughts? I'm going to hang up and listen.
Yeah, 10-team leagues, always a little bit tough to totally gauge. But still very solid. Josh Allen, you got Nico and freaking Pickens, you got Goddard now, Amari, Higgins on the bench, you got Bucky Irving, who we all like, Najee, and you got Kyron and Etienne. Even Worthy now with all these injuries. So I would give this team an A all the way around, even in a 10-team league. Am I worried about Etienne? No, I'm not going to get too worried. This guy continues to get it done year after year. The Jags offense should pick up a little bit, look a little bit better last week at least. So that's an A team, man.
Yeah, I like the team. As Steve would say, you have good players, good depth here. But I have a little bit of a concern about Travis Etienne. Now, yes, the Jaguars, they look like they might have a little bit of a pulse. But Travis Etienne, we haven't seen this guy get going. And remember, we drafted him based on last season. He was one of the better fantasy backs, really the first 2 years of his career. We have seen fewer than 14.8 PPR points in 3 out of the 4 games. And last week, in a game where this offense did cook a little bit, only 7. I know he was a little bit banged up. Tank Bigsby, he is cutting in a little bit. This isn't a player I'm trying to sell because I don't think you'll get market value because he's not popping yet. But if you look at the upcoming matchups, you should, like if you wanted to trade Etienne, you got Indy, Chicago, which is, they're pretty soft against the run. New England, Green Bay, Philly. In one of these next 5 games, either Travis Etienne's going to get going and be a consistent fantasy player, or you'll have a buy or a sell high opportunity. But it's not now.
Yeah, I'm a little late to the party. So sorry about that, but it seems like Anthony and Steve kind of covered that. Dylan, if you have any more questions about that, feel free to follow up with us, and we'll
I was going to say, like last week, again, I know Etienne was a little bit banged up. He did, finish the game, but this was the first week. Travis Etienne had 30 snaps, and then the first real week where Bigsby had 17, Dearness had 12. That was the most active that we've seen a 3-back rotation.
Yeah, it's a good point. All right, so checking out here, let's get to Trone Force. Said, with Barkley and Monty on a bye, I need 2 running backs, Braylon Allen, Madison, Mostert, or Emmanuel Wilson, PPR. I guess it just depends. Is Mostert playing? I mean, that's going to be big. And even if Mostert's playing, I mean, Braylon Allen gets the Vikings. The Dolphins are just a mess offensively right now. I mean, this is just a bad group. Madison's playing Denver. I mean, this is a really rough group to start. I mean, you might even consider Emmanuel Wilson, who's eating into Josh Jacobs' touches, who might have the best matchup out of all of them. But I mean, this is a tough group to pick here.
Wow.
I would have to go. This has got to be studied a little bit further here. But with Mostert coming back, Emmanuel Wilson's playing a decent amount with Josh Jacobs. That's getting a little scary for Jacobs. Braylon Allen's, mixing in with Breece Hall. Madison, you had Pierce come out and say that they want to get him even more work, and he's looking better than Zamir White. So maybe let's look at the matchups. I mean. I would say Zamir White and maybe
you mean Madison.
Yeah, I'm bad. Madison and Emmanuel Wilson maybe here.
Wilson. So Wilson gets the Rams, who have been really bad against running back.
There you go. So that's a good one.
Yeah, I think Wilson would be me as well. I agree with Steve. I think Madison just because of workload. I mean, maybe Denver's defense, it might have been a little bit of a fluke last week. I mean, with the rain, I'm not saying a fluke in terms of how good they are, but they are missing their starting middle linebacker. Maybe like you go Madison here, but I mean, maybe you go Mostert, but they're playing New England. I think Mostert might be the best call because of game script.
I don't want
New
that
England.
Miami offense looks like a complete shit show right
know.
now. I mean, it's just so ugly. The way they run the fucking 97,000 horizontal passes.
Yeah.
You know, it might look a little better this week, but yeah, I got to stay away from Mostert for now. He's all banged up. The Patriots defense is pretty tough.
Yeah. I would love to see where Vegas has all four of these guys. I might honestly look at where Vegas has all of them charted out for their totals.
I don't like Madison against the Broncos.
And I don't like Braylon against Minnesota.
Yeah, I would say Emmanuel Wilson is definitely one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's rough.
Ask us later in the week when we can kind of digest this more. You have some time to pick. I don't think any of these guys play on Thursday night. Thursday night game is Tampa versus Atlanta. Actually, should be a pretty good game. We get a good game possibly. Actually, last week, no, yeah. I mean, we get a good game this week, so that's good.
Ask us fullback from Dallas, Hunter Lukey.
That game wasn't that bad. The Giants, Dallas. I mean,
they're using this Lukey
kid. Was bad. I know. I saw the report.
Lukey. Pick him up. Pick up Lipke and start his ass.
Hey, honestly, you know what my advice would be? Go pick up Trey Sermon if Jonathan Taylor's out. He gets a good matchup this week. So. I mean, against Jacksonville, I'd rather roll the dice with Trey Sermon if Jonathan Taylor's not playing. Troy, thank you for waiting. He said, I have hurt Stroud. Should I drop Stroud for Daniels? Love or Fields are I don't know. And Love and Fields are on the waiver wire. Also need a tight end. Laporta this week. McBride, Kincaid still in the waiver wire. Troy, I don't know how many people are in this league. It's kind of hard to pick. I mean, I think, I mean, I would drop Stroud for Daniels. Yeah. If I'm giving that the advice, and then Laporta this week. I mean, I think.
Am I reading that right? With those tight ends?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying. I don't want to be rude. I'm just trying to figure out.
I think we need a 10 league minimum on these questions. Anything less than that, it's just, it's just too much. Come on.
Troy
I don't even know what to say with that. That could go so many different ways.
He said it's only 6 teams, is what he said.
Well,
I mean, look, to give him advice, to throw him a bone. I'm not going to shame anybody because
Jaden Daniels.
At the end of the day, people that are playing in smaller leagues, you'd rather them play in smaller leagues before they get to bigger leagues, because then they know what they're doing a little bit more. Not to say you don't, Troy, but to throw him a bone, I think Daniels you drop for Stroud, and then from a tight end standpoint,
if McBride's active, he's the guy.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And he said 6 teams. Let's go to Unwary Might. Said, should I pick up DeAndre Hopkins? He is potentially being traded, maybe. I mean, it depends who you're dropping for Hopkins, but if you're speculating that he gets traded, I know there's talk. Maybe. I mean, are the Titans 1-3 now, or are they 2-2?
1-3. They were 0-3 coming in last night. Yeah, that was their first win. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Hopkins hasn't. I haven't heard anything. I know there's speculation. Hopkins has been pretty decent for what it's worth. So I mean, it just depends who you're dropping.
Kansas City's going to get a wide receiver. It's just a matter of who, and it's going to be one of these Hopkins or probably Hopkins more likely than Adams.
Okay. Yeah.
In my opinion, right?
Yeah.
Money wise, he might be a little bit cheaper than Davante.
Well, Adams,
but I think they're going to be aggressive. Right? Like they're chasing a third Super Bowl.
Well, Adams' deal is practically a 1-year deal, the way the money is structured. So it's actually not as expensive as I initially thought, but reading more into it, it's practically a 1-year. But I mean, it just
but even if it's not Kansas City, like there's going to be a team out there that wants
it might be Buffalo.
We need to go over that. Yeah, Buffalo, actually, good idea.
It could be Buffalo.
I forgot, they're okay right now, but like after that loss to Baltimore, like, hey, maybe we need some wide receiver help.
They already said we got to get Curtis Samuel more involved now. So he's their highest paid guy. So
I'm so glad I didn't buy into Curtis Samuel this year. Everyone kept trying to tell.
Well, I mean, that could change a little bit. But
It could
yeah,
change.
it's
As
just
for
gonna
now,
it's gonna be so
mean,
mixed up. You're not gonna be able to know.
yeah, I mean, it feels like we know Shakir and Kincaid are first and second in the pecking order, and it's just a matter of who emerges between Keon Coleman, the rookie, in the second half of the year, and Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel might is going to be more of a gadget guy, in my opinion, but whatever. But Sean said pick the best three of the four here: PPR, McLaurin, Tyreek, JSN, Mooney. I don't know if this is rest this season or not.
The first three.
Let's just assume it's rest of season. And I would say the first three as well.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right. And then PPR flex Pittman, Kirk, or Wicks this week. I think Pittman has a solid case this week. But Kirk, you could say too. I mean, if Kenny Moore doesn't play, Kirk, you could make the argument against
Definitely Kirk.
Indianapolis.
Definitely Kirk.
Yeah.
He's
I
been
think
money
you
the
can make
last
that
2 weeks.
argument.
He's gonna keep going.
Yeah.
So I think I would go with Kirk there. I
Yeah.
mean, Wicks is.
I'll go Kirk slightly over Wicks just because he's been getting more volume, but Wicks did really look good.
And they're playing the
really
Rams.
good.
They're playing the
Yeah.
Rams.
I might go to Wicks then. I might go to Wicks.
Yeah, I need to see
Definitely.
I need to see where we are later in the week with Pittman and Flacco. I think it's between Wicks and Kirk regardless, I think for me, and I'm
Yeah.
okay picking either of those guys, but we'll see where we are later in the week and give you a better answer
No.
there.
And Troy, not a dumb question. We're just not used to seeing some of these guys on waivers. And it makes sense that it's your first time playing fantasy. So welcome, but sometimes it's a shock to us to see, a guy like Trey McBride and Kincaid on waivers, but it makes more sense. It's your first time, a little bit of a smaller league. So it's like what Pete said, this is a great way to learn.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to learn. People, we all jokes aside, I would rather somebody learn in a smaller league before they get to a 12-man and somebody just invites somebody who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience, because then people make lopsided trades or they're just inexperienced. So cut your teeth in a smaller league, get the experience, and then you'll eventually want to go to a little bit more of a competitive league. But for now, don't feel ashamed about it. It's not a bad question.
No,
it's just really hard to pick.
No, it's not a dumb question. I would just say try to get into at least a 10 team. That's most ideal next year.
Yeah, that's fair as well. And then Unwary Might says, I know this question is dumb, but gotta ask. Dropping Carson Steele for Kareem Hunt is a no-brainer. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Michael Lopez, evening guys. With everything going on with Zamir White and Madison, is it worth picking up Braylon Allen for rest of the season? Full PPR. Thank you in advance. I think Madison and Braylon Allen could actually have similar value rest of season, but Braylon Allen's never going to take over the number one role unless
Allen's got more upside, but it could be very close. I don't mind dropping Madison for Allen and taking a shot there.
Yeah, I would rather have. He is involved in this Jets offense, and he's getting roughly the same amount of touches the past 2 games as Madison.
For what it's worth, I mean, I can't believe that they ran Breece Hall at the 1 yard line 3 times without putting Braylon Allen in. I was kind of surprised. I think later on in the game, Braylon Allen was getting the touches more because he was the hotter hand.
But the blocking was still shit. I mean, the blocking was still shit. Maybe Allen would have got in. I don't know. Who the hell knows?
It was. I think the main point is the Jets are willing to give Allen the ball, and that's the biggest thing, is they're not afraid to take away from Hall to give Allen the ball if he's playing well, which we've seen over the last few weeks.
Yeah, but it's not like Breece Hall is a small back either, it was just one of those fucking things,
No, I know. Allen was able to find a little bit more wiggle room. That's all. He's more of a he's definitely a little stronger than Breece Hall. I think we can at least agree on that, though. But regardless,
what is he? 6 foot 235.
Yeah, he's a bowling ball.
Breece is like 5'11", I don't know, 215 maybe, something like that, 210.
Yeah. But I mean, to answer the question, I don't think it's a bad idea. You're getting the running back on a better offense. I think that might just be the best way. The only thing you could attribute Madison is there might be playing from behind, so he might catch a good amount of passes in a game script that favors his receiving ability. So I can understand going both ways there. JTube says, my friend wants to make trades. He doesn't know how much how too much, and I'm trying to get Wilson and Jacobs. Who would you move? My top players are Reed, Amon-Ra, Worthy, Quentin Johnson, Lazard, A-Chain, Brooks, Mason, Gibbs. He's 0-4. I'm 3-1. I think if I've learned anything in fantasy, I mean, you want to win, but you don't want to burn relationships with trade partners. So you don't want to completely screw the guy, especially if it's a friend. If it's a league where you don't know anybody, then yeah, I'm okay burning relationships. But I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? What would be a fair trade to get Wilson and Jacobs based on this team construction? Maybe sell Worthy high.
Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Josh
sure
Jacobs.
I mean, maybe Worthy and A-Chain, that might be giving up too much, but he's got Mason and Gibbs and Brooks coming back. I mean, you get Jacobs back. I mean, you're selling low on A-Chain, high on Worthy, but
I think you can sell high on Worthy. I think that would be a fair piece.
Yeah.
And it would have to be, I guess, if you want to keep it fair, Etienne or Mason.
Yeah, I would do A-Chain and Worthy. But I don't know. What do you think, Steve?
Try to give him Brooks and Worthy. And throw in Lazard there too. I mean, what the hell? I mean, I get shit trades from people that I know very well all the time.
I know. He said he doesn't know too much, so that's why I just feel like he clearly knows he doesn't want to take advantage of the dude. But I mean,
dude. It's you got to try to win, right? So I mean, it's just fantasy football. I mean, that's still not a bad deal.
Yeah,
it's not terrible.
I mean, he's 0-4, so I mean,
Jacobs doesn't look that great right now. Wilson's getting shut down every single week, so
yeah,
that's fair. You
gotta start spitting that, and then
yeah, you just gotta do your best sales pitch. Jared Fortin, another question here. He said, "Big money team thoughts, 12-team PPR. Mahomes, Kyron, Mason, A-Chain, Jefferson, Higgins, Kincaid, Groupie, Chiefs defense benches Madison, Braylon Allen, Wandale, Komet, and Shakir." So he's just letting us know that this is his big money team. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a solid team. I honestly, I'm at the point with Mahomes where I might consider trying to take Mahomes and like maybe Shakir and try to trade for an upgraded quarterback. I don't know where you guys.
This is the team he had the question about before, right? With the Fields and Brees, I think Mahomes and A-Chain, and we said go get Fields and Brees. So.
Yeah, he said was offered Fields and Hall for A-Chain and Mahomes. Right. So this is that team. So essentially, he would be getting Brees Hall, and he would be getting Fields. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate that trade based on his team.
Yeah, I think like we said, I think we like Fields a little bit better for fantasy the rest of the way.
Yeah. All right, Michael,
which is pretty crazy to say. I mean, Mahomes. It's just the injuries. There's just too many freaking injuries right now.
No, I'm with you there. Michael Lopez asked us this question with the Braylon Allen one. He says he also said I have Dobbins, Rashad White, and Walker also. So yeah, I would go for Braylon Allen because he gives you the better upside out of the two. Dom Hoff's boy, 49ers fan, Dom, said, "Should I trade Rashad White for Singletary? Also, for my priority waiver wire, should I pick up Kareem Hunt or Trey Sermon?"
Yeah, Singletary and go get Kareem Hunt.
Okay, you prefer Singletary over Rashad White at this time? Okay.
Yeah, because he might lose his job. Singletary's not going to lose his job.
I'm kind of with you
there. That's fair.
Yeah.
And then I would want Hunt unless we had definitive news about Jonathan Taylor.
Well, if you need
a mild high ankle sprain. Now we got mild high ankle sprains in there.
Yeah,
so.
Who knows?
I don't think he's going to be out long, maybe a week or two. So,
well, if it's a spot start, if you're like, hey, I'm going to start either Kareem Hunt or Trey Sermon this week, whichever one I pick up.
Yeah, but I
would go for Trey Sermon if you think JT's out.
But I mean, Hunt could still outperform it, and you get more long-term value there too. So
no, it's fair. It depends record-wise. I think is the big thing too. If you need a win this week, then
yeah. But don't Colts use that guy Goodson a little bit too? So I don't even know, man. Like Trey Sermon's had so many opportunities. I like Trey. Anthony knows, man. Trey Sermon was my
Didn't bring
guy.
anybody else in. So they obviously have enough confidence in him in case anything happened with JT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Like I said, they may use that guy Goodson a little bit. I'm just saying, I'd rather have Hunt with the Chiefs.
Yeah,
So.
I it's fair. Rashad Wader, Singletary. I think Singletary. That's fair. I think Tyron Tracy is not there yet. I think he could maybe get more involved, but I don't think it overtakes Singletary. I think Tyron Tracy could get more involved, but Rashad White has more competition biting at his ankles right now, and Singletary should be in a positive game script for receptions for the whole season, and he's looked good. I'll give him credit. I mean, I wasn't a big Singletary guy, but he's looked good this year. Drew L said, I'm looking to sell Etienne in a package for a wide receiver. What value should I go for? I mean, Etienne and Worthy, maybe you can get a Jaden Reed if somebody's willing. I wouldn't hate making a trade like that, you know?
Yeah.
For those two?
Yeah.
You might be able to get a little bit more than Jaden Reed.
Yeah, you should aim.
Maybe Jaden Reed and a piece.
Yeah.
A running back.
Yeah. I mean,
Etienne, I don't know how
a little bit.
Do you lose a lot when you trade Etienne? Like, how many running backs do you have left? You know, I don't know. It's tough to say. Like,
yeah,
you may love Jaden Reed, but are you going to hurt your running back room if you make that trade?
I wouldn't even mind going after maybe like an Olave. Maybe you can even get Olave and a downgrade at running back, maybe a throw in or something like that. All right, so we're at an hour 16. We've been going about an hour 30. We'll go another 10 minutes here, and then we'll log off. And then if anybody has questions, obviously hit us up. Lee Jones said, should I trade CMC, Puka, and Leggett for St. Brown, Hunt, and Allen? I started 0-4. Okay, so he's in a rough spot. He's not getting anything from Puka and CMC. He gets St. Brown. Could be the best player in the deal, regardless if CMC comes back. So I think that's fair.
You got to try to make a different deal.
Yeah, I'm not saying this is the deal, but I actually think getting St. Brown for what he's giving up is actually pretty good.
He's giving up CMC and Puka. Like, I mean, he's only getting Hunt and Allen back. I mean, I understand St. Brown, but I mean, Hunt and Allen aren't really going to do two. I mean, you're giving up Puka and CMC.
He's 0-4 though.
He's 0-4.
I know. That's why I said try to get maybe a different deal. Maybe you could get like another guy with St. Brown's value. Maybe like another stronger player there besides Allen and Hunt. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. I think you keep that person warm, and to Steve's point, maybe you try to get someone of similar value, maybe a slight downgrade to Brown, maybe a DK Metcalf, right? Maybe you get DK Metcalf, who somebody might value him a little less, and get a better piece on the side, and keep that trade warm. And if you can't get any better, you pull the trigger. I mean, at this point, you're 0-4. You don't have a lot of leverage, so
you got to do something.
Understand.
For sure. Yeah, you got to do something. Yeah.
So I get it. So keep that guy warm, but that would be the advice that we would give there. Jib says, now that Adams is looking to make a trade, Myers or Tucker? I'm going to give this to Steve because Steve has some strong feelings about one of these guys.
Well, so I like both these guys. I like Myers last year too. So I think it's very close. I mean, I think either one could really step up, but it does seem like Tucker's kind of a little more versatile. They like to use him on these reverses screens. He's scored back-to-back weeks. So it might be just like an easier target for like a guy like Minshew to get the ball to. And even when O'Connell came in last week, or was it this week? He threw that touchdown in the back of the end zone to Tucker too. So I think Myers is really good. He's underrated. The Patriots should have kept him. It's very close. Maybe I give the slight edge to Tucker just based on the offense they're running. I know Anthony likes Tucker a lot too.
Yeah, and if Adams is going to go, Tucker's going to grow into a big role, and they're already showcasing rapport, both Myers and Tucker. But I think I would lean Tucker.
Yeah,
because Myers has always been that competent, that slot role. Like he was never really the one before, and I think that could be. They like Tucker with the Raiders too.
Yeah, I'm with you guys too. I think, I mean, unless you're looking for safe, Jacoby Myers is safe.
Yeah.
But like Tucker provides more explosiveness. He scored a rushing touchdown to Steve's point. So I think they're going to try different ways to get him the football. I think Myers is like, hey, I need a flex play this week. I just need someone to get me 10 points. Jacoby Myers is your guy. If that's what you're into, cool. Derek said PPR got to stream a running back this week. Who should I add / start? Antonio Gibson against Miami had a good week this week. I think he had 10 points, caught like 64 receiving yards. Roshan Johnson is Carolina. Justice Hill or Trey Sermon. We're really scraping at the bottom of the barrel here, but I get it. It is a bye week. In terms of who you would start, I do appreciate that he gave us the matchup.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. That's great. That's awesome. Thank you for
I
that.
appreciate that.
We're still, a Tuesday night making pickups. But
honestly, I would say Roshan, because even though Swift, was heavily involved, Swift doesn't get a lot of red zone touches, and I think that could be where Roshan adds. And this is a great matchup, obviously, against Carolina, where I could see both of them scoring. Gibson might be a player. Ramondre keeps fumbling.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe that opens up a door for Gibson, but I don't know if that's this week or not. I don't know if Justice Hill is going to be utilized like the way he's used against Buffalo. Like, is that going to be as every week roll?
Well, this would be a game where he would be, because it's a 50 total. It could be back and forth. They use a lot in the passing game again. And he's pretty safe. He gives you like 8-10 points regardless. I kind of like Justice Hill. I feel like he'll give you 10 points and with a little more upside. So I don't mind that one.
I'm with Steve. I think it's Justice Hill or Trey Sermon for me if JT doesn't play. I like what I've seen from Gibson, but I think game script wise is not going to help Gibson. Miami's defense was okay this week, but it's going to be a low scoring game. I don't think Gibson's going to catch a ton of passes, which is where he makes his hay. I think Trey Sermon, to Steve's point, in a higher scoring game is a good play. Trey Sermon wouldn't. Who did I say?
Yeah, you said Trey Sermon.
Okay, I had Trey Sermon on the mind because I think he could be a sneaky play against a good matchup against Jacksonville. But it would be between those two for me. I get Anthony's point about Roshan. It's a good matchup there too. But I think Gibson's the odd man out. I think Gibson's definitely the guy I wouldn't start out of the four for sure.
Yeah. I would definitely keep an eye on him though, just in case Ram plays himself out of a job.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's not going to happen.
Fletcher
fumbling, he will.
He's too good, man. There's no way they're going to move off. I mean, unless he like fumbles, like 16 times in a row, maybe. But
I mean, we're at 2 games in a row, lost fumble.
Nah,
you have no manners.
If that happens, I'll be freaking. I'll fucking do something crazy. I'll jump through my window or some shit. I don't know.
So Fletcher Cox back. I don't know if it's the Fletcher Cox, but Fletcher Cox is back in the chat. Said, should I trade Wandale or Worthy for Christian Kirk? I wouldn't actually. I wouldn't. I think you bank on the upside with Worthy, possibly.
I think Wandale's a top 20 PPR receiver right now, honestly.
And Wandale is. I mean, he's on pace for over 100 receptions.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's got the floor, and Worthy has the ceiling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jones just loves to feed him underneath.
He has 2 games.
Not a lot of yards. Not a lot of yards.
With double-digit targets. 1 game with 8 targets, and 1 game with like 4 targets. But in that game, he scored. So like he's giving us 9.8 PPR points a week. And then that was 1 game. The other 3 in the double digits, getting heavily targeted, involved in an offense. Like he's like the tight end. Like he took over, I think, the tight end snaps or the tight end targets and the Barkley targets.
Yeah. Seth Peterson and then Brainy Ballers is in here. We have some possibly exciting news. We'll announce it later on, but we might be doing something with them. So I'll get to Brainy Ballers in a second. But Seth Peterson said, for your waiver strat, do you ever drop players before you make claims to have your league mates bid on that player versus the player you're actually going for, or does that give it away? I think you might be overthinking it a little bit. I mean, unless you think that you're dropping a decent enough player, like take a Mike Gesicki, for example. If you drop Mike Gesicki, right?
Gesicki.
If you drop Mike Gesicki,
There you
this
go.
is a league, a season where people are struggling at tight end. So maybe people put him as a priority to go pick up. But I don't know if you have to overthink it too much, but you're also, it doesn't matter if you're planning on dropping these players. You know, I mean, you might as well throw them in the pool and hope somebody bites. Maybe you get the priority, but I play in all fab leagues. I don't know what you guys do, but I'm actually not in a single league that doesn't do fab. So I'm not super experienced in the regular waiver order. So, but I think if you're throwing people in the pool that you're going to drop anyway, I don't think it hurts. But what do you
Yeah,
guys think?
sometimes those guys are locked though too. Like if you drop them, it takes them a couple more
That's a good
days to
point.
clear, right? So
Yeah,
no, I don't really. When I drop guys, I'm just dropping because they suck, or or like what I'll do sometimes is like on Yahoo. I'll drop my kicker for that week so I can make a pickup and just hold that roster spot. Because on Yahoo, you can't put guys on the IR until Sunday, basically. So you have to. So to create that roster spot, I'll just cut the kicker, and then Sunday comes, I'll put the guy on R, and then I'll make my pickup for the kicker back again.
I don't mean to laugh. We just this came in. If you need a player, I'm from Nigeria. Please help me. I don't know if you have any fantasy football.
Fantasy football is blowing up all over the world, man. Let's do it.
Come on.
All right. If you have any fantasy football questions, let us. All right. Okay. I can't do it. All right. So, geez. Let's get to
we'll be back tomorrow.
Let's just answer Jason Gwynn. Brainy Ballers, hit me up in the DMs. I'll answer you, buddy. Said Jason Gwynn.
We're gonna get sued.
Jeez.
If you got a question, Mama, drop it, man. We'll help you with fantasy. But, I don't know what the hell you're talking about, though. All right, let's keep moving.
All right. Geez, Jason. Let's answer Jason because he's always asking us questions on Twitter. He said, "Would you drop some of your wife for Kareem?"
We gotta stop. Okay, we gotta stop.
Let's cut it off. That's the last question. I'm sorry. Finish up the last one.
Sean said that question caught us all off guard. Yeah.
Hey, dude, how good was freaking Christian Okoye? He was a Nigerian nightmare, man. He was like one of the best.
Yes, he was. He was.
Oh, jeez.
All right, come on, I'm hungry now.
All right, Jason Quinn. Would you drop Samir White for Kareem Hunt, Chase Brown, Justice Hill, Roshan Johnson? I would drop him for Chase Brown.
Yeah, that's
that would be my advice. Yeah. All right.
Chase Brown or Kareem Hunt.
Okay. All right. I think we're tapped out here. Anthony's going to send us out. If you have questions, send us in the comments once we close out. If we didn't get to you, we will gladly answer during the week, and we'll be live tomorrow. Actually, we're going live at 8:30 tomorrow, Eastern time. The media will be on. So
buy, sell, hold tomorrow night, Thursday, back with start sits. Come on, start sits on Thursday night, start sits on Friday night, same time, and then Sunday morning, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Sunday morning, start sits going into game day. And then Saturday, we might be bringing back the DFS show, which should be a weekly thing. We're also going live with NFL picks and anything else in between here on this channel. Hopefully, we can make a little time. Yeah. But we'll be back tomorrow night for the Face Off Sports Network. For Steve, myself, we'll